Hi, I'm Malika Bilal in for Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, obesity has reached epidemic proportions across the globe, but is the way it's being discussed exacerbating the problem? This viral video from YouTube star Nicole Arbor has many people discussing that hot button topic online.
Dear fat people. Some people are already really mad at this video. What are you gonna do, fat people? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna chase me? Really? You're gonna chase me? Fat shaming is not a thing. Fat people made that up. That's the race card with no race.
Yeah, but I couldn't fit into a store. That's discrimination.
No. That means you're too fat and you should stop eating. Everybody just needs to make more sense. There's a race card, there's a disability card, there's even a gay card. Are you gonna tell the doctor that they're being mean and fat shaming you when they say you have heart disease? I'm not talking about people who have a little bit of cushion for the pushing. And if there's people watching this with a specific health condition, this is not aimed at you. I'm talking about the 35% of North Americans who are obese. That means you are so fat, you are affecting your own health. Fat shaming. Who came up with that? That's brilliant. Yes, shame people who have bad habits until they stop. Fat shaming. If we offend you so much that you lose weight, I'm okay with that.
I'll break down some of that conversation along with my co-host and digital producer Omar Badar, who's looking at the many hashtags that are surrounding the story. I know there are a lot.
A lot of them, including one with the name of this video, Dear Fat People, which has been used thousands of times, including by people who think actually that this video is helpful, that helped them in losing weight, including people like Angel over here who says, 160 pounds down here and love Dear Fat People, go team. But then there's the hashtag body positive, which is being used also by a lot of people who are taking issue with this, including people like Susie over here who says, I am size fabulous, period. And you choose the label, not others. And finally, of course, the topic of today, fat shaming. And that hashtag is also being used by people like Megan over here who says fat shaming is not okay. Just because you think you're a comedian, it doesn't give you a right to bully people. Get a new job. Now, of course, for those of you who want to join today's conversation, be sure to tweet using the hashtag that you see at the bottom of the screen right now, AJStream.
Hi, I'm Jean Ronnie. I'm School Nutrition Association's Vice President, and I'm in the stream.
The World Health Organization has called obesity one of today's most blatantly visible, yet most neglected public health problems, which, left unchecked, will cause serious health disorders for millions around the globe. So what is an appropriate way of discussing it? Well, joining us on set, Jessamine Stanley is a yoga teacher.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, how are you doing?
Thank you for being here.
I have so much to say. That video got me so hyped. Like,
we're excited. See how excited she is?
Yes.
Well, joining Jessamine, Whitney Thors, founder of the No Body Shame campaign and star of the TLC reality show, My Big Fat Fabulous Life. She was one of the many who posted a response to the Dear Fat People video we saw a few moments ago. GJ Dimpers is a medical practice manager. And AJ Rochester is an Australian actress, author, and creator of the Drop the Plus campaign. Now, AJ, I'll start with you. You saw that full video. What went through your mind as you watched it?
Oh, I was so angry. And the more press she got, the angrier I got. And take my own personal issues and my own personal lifetime spent trying to encourage people to love themselves as they are. I brought it back really, really simply to, would she stand in front of a fragile 12-year-old and say all of those things? No.
Jessamine?
No. It's just being mean and nasty and putting a whole group of people into a bunch of stereotypes that are harmful and damaging. And then the world applauded, which is just, that's the shame.
You know, and the world always applauds, though. I mean, I feel like she's the voice of a million people. My response to this video was, okay, so there's another thin person who doesn't like fat people. I could spend hours upon hours being upset about this, but at the end of the day, I just feel like it's really pathetic and sad to say that many negative things about other people, especially in a forum like the internet, so that I just have a really low level of respect for someone who does that. So that to me, it's less about my being fat and being offended. I've been offended my whole life. It's more about, that's really sad that's how she feels better about herself, is shaming other people.
But I think the point that we all miss is that
Hey guys.
this video
is that it definitely created a conversation, and there's one that everyone wants to get in here. So I know our community does as well, and since our voice is represented by Omar Badar, I'll let him throw to the next person. Omar.
Sure. We asked people actually what they thought about the video, and we have people tweeting in, including Esther over here, who says the U.S. population has had problems with obesity for a long time. This is just one person's attempt to get the message across. On the other hand, you have Marsha over here who says this is fat shaming and it's not funny at all. There's useful encouragement and there's mean fat shaming. It's just not the right way, especially in a public forum like YouTube. So Whitney, I want to throw this to you. Is tackling this through comedy inherently problematic, or is there a way to do this that's funny without actually being mean about it?
Well, if anyone has seen my show, My Big Fat Fabulous Life, I think we tackle a lot of things in a funny way. I love a good fat joke. I laugh at myself all the time. I think it's very important that we do that. However, what she doesn't seem to understand, well, I think she does understand it. I'll just be clear. I don't even think that she really feels these things. I think that she is doing anything she can to be famous, trying to be controversial, and this is what she picked. However, what we need to understand is that if we had replaced the word fat with black or gay or some other adjective of a marginalized person, I think that the backlash would have been even bigger. But I have to disagree that the world applauded. I don't think the world did. I think that her making the video was actually really great for the body positive movement, because we got to see that we're changing the conversation and the way that we respond to, you know, videos just like hers. So I actually think that was a positive thing. But I don't think that she really thinks it's funny either. I don't know. When
she thinks it's funny, she said
I
it's a
can
joke.
laugh without feeling like that person hates me. And that's definitely how I felt from watching it. It just made me feel sick, because any fat person has experienced those kinds of things their whole life.
Whitney, as you were talking, GJ looked like he had something to say. GJ, do you think that there's any way that this could be seen as inspirational?
I've actually, I've got so much to say on the issue. You know, I've been on diets since I can remember, and I've always struggled with my weight. Last year, I lost about 40 pounds, and I've gained half of that back again. But the thing is, sometimes we need a rude awakening, and I think that's maybe the way she went about it is completely wrong, and I disagree with that. But sometimes we do need to get a rude awakening, a wake-up call. That's what happened to me last year, actually, when I went for my cholesterol and my sugar, my yearly checkup, and I got so frightened that I started doing something about it.
But you got your awakening from the doctor.
Right.
Do you think that there's a difference from getting it from a video?
But does it have to go to the extreme of having to go to a doctor telling you, listen, if you don't check yourself, you're going to start developing serious illnesses? And I also think when it comes to groups of friends, especially with girls, guys as well, we tend to be kind and sweet to each other, and that's great. But I think what we rather should start looking at is an honesty campaign, where we can actually feel comfortable enough with each other to say, listen, I am worried about you because you have gained some weight and it might cause some health concerns for you. Instead of letting everything slide and just say, you know what, it's okay, just keep on doing what you're doing.
Okay, but I have to point something out, if you guys don't mind. What she did was look at every person who is fat and directly address them. And something that I think that I'm very grateful for about myself is that I have had eating disorders. I've been thin. I wasn't even fat or overweight at all until I turned 18. I actually lost 100 pounds on my own in 8 months once. I gained it back, but I've run the gamut. I have a health condition. I've done everything, like Fat Girl Olympics. I won the gold. And what she did was something that happened to me personally, where I had just lost 100 pounds in 8 months with having polycystic ovarian syndrome through nothing but my own hard work and dedication. And I walked out of the gym after having run 5 miles, and a guy drove by in a car and called me a fat ass. And that's the point I would like to make, is that when she's spewing all this hate about fat people, number one, we know these things. We know about the risks and diabetes and heart disease. And the other thing is that you don't know where someone's come from, because right now at your weight, I'm sure people still make fun of you. And that is not helpful to anybody. And it's very ignorant to suppose to know why a person is fat or how much weight they've lost or what their goals are. And I think that's my biggest biggest problem with the whole thing.
I have to
But let's be
piggyback
real,
on that
she doesn't
briefly.
care.
She doesn't care, and she's just
Doesn't
lumping
care.
everyone together. She thinks that if you are fat, that must mean. I have this problem all the time. As a yoga teacher, people expect you to look a certain way, that you would be slender, or that, you know, whatever. Typically, the body is a really different shape than my own. And whenever I'm around my students who are typically smaller bodied than I am, and we are standing right next to each other, you might think that someone who's smaller than me is actually the teacher, but then you look at their life and, you know, this person smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day, does not live a healthy lifestyle, does not really care about themselves. And it's just, you know, when you see that people just lump all fat people together, it just doesn't connect for me. It's such a short-sighted viewpoint. I just can't take it seriously.
And of course, as you say
that,
as Jessamine says that, I pulled up on my computer the Instagram page, Jessamine's Instagram page. You are doing poses that I know I couldn't do. I think most of our viewers probably couldn't do. These are amazing poses. You're definitely flexible, have strength, and people may not necessarily know that by looking at you, but
and they don't have to know that.
Exactly.
In the same way that, I mean, I don't think that my lifestyle needs to be shown necessarily by the things that I do. I don't make judgments about other people, and it's, I mean, the reason that I'm not upset by this video is because it's such a commonly held opinion that it's kind of hard to get pissed at the end of the day. But when you think about it, it's like, wow, you don't know anything about me. And it happens all the time. I mean, so let's say I teach a class. I've been teaching 2-4 hours a day. I go to Whole Foods, load up my cart, and I see people across the aisle looking at me like, oh, you're fat. You shouldn't be eating all that food. You don't know what I did earlier today. And I'm not going to sit here and make myself feel bad about eating and enjoying my life because you don't like fat people. You know, it's ridiculous.
At the end of the day,
I want to get our community in here. GJ, I hear you. I want to get our community in here because I know people are listening to you guys have this heated debate, and then they're tweeting us furiously trying to get in. So, Omar, what are they saying?
You know, we asked an interesting question to our community about whether it's okay to ever comment about somebody else's weight. And you have Chesty over here who said, only if it's your own weight. Other people's bodies are none of your damn business. But, AJ, I mean, there are cases where people have said, like, if you see young children who are really overweight, eating really unhealthy, some people have compared that to basically child abuse and feel that maybe they should have a conversation with the parents of these kids. Is it really ever appropriate to actually have that conversation with someone about somebody else's weight?
Yeah, but I think that if there's a skinny kid eating a hamburger, nobody has an issue.
Exactly.
But if there's a fat kid having a hamburger, it's like a free-for-all. And here's what happens. Because I run an anti-bullying campaign, and kids send me their films and their art and their stories, and the most common theme is that words hurt. And kids are bombarded with these images every single day, and they go home to this girl that 30 million people are watching, and all the troll comments after it, and they feel like that the society and media is saying, that's right, you are too fat, you take up too much space. They go to school the next day, they're told they smell like sausage, because that's what Nicole Arbour said. The next week, they're dead. Children are dying every single day because words hurt. That's the point that we're missing. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about her health.
Absolutely.
If she did, she'd donate some of her money to the Eating Disorders Foundations or the World Health Organization.
I mean, seriously.
GJ, I know GJ is trying. He's trying. Go ahead, GJ.
I can totally relate. I'm also part of the It Gets Better campaign. I'm also part of the No Hate campaign. Like I said to one of the producers, I was bullied at school because they thought, well, according to them, I was fat, which I obviously wasn't. But because of that, by 16, I had anorexia. And there was about 3 months that I had nothing except black coffee with sweetener in. And at the end of the day, when I lost the weight, nothing changed. They found something else to bully you about. I just think fat shaming is just the wrong word. Maybe it's just another reason why people bully someone else, but it could be anything else.
I mean,
but it doesn't work. I mean,
yes.
For people, we all know that people like Nicole Arbour don't care about our health. But for people who say that it's a way to express concern and that it's the way that we can get better, it's so ridiculous because like you, I was very thin growing up, but I was never thin enough. And when I talk about my PCOS and people say, oh, right, health conditions, whatever, PCOS is a big reason why I'm obese. I gained 100 pounds in 8 months completely out of my control. Is that why I'm the weight that I am right now? No. But what happened to me when I got diagnosed with PCOS, people treated me like I was nothing, like I didn't exist. I was not acknowledged. acknowledged and I was discriminated against, and that caused me to not take care of myself and has exacerbated the issue. So for people to say like, I'm just giving you a wake-up call, this is going to help you, no, it harms us. It makes it worse. And I found my way out on the other side, the heaviest I've ever been and the happiest I've ever been, but a lot of people do not get there.
I don't understand why you have to have an excuse for what your body looks like. You know,
And
I
you
mean, it's
don't.
like, it's lucky that,
don't.
I mean, I've never been thin, have never had a period of my life where I was not like a chubby kid. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that I went through a very, I'm not going to go into it on television, but a very emotionally troubling experience within my family. And you would never know that. It's not going to come up in conversation, and it's probably not considered a legitimate excuse for weight gain, but it's the reality. And everyone's life is different. And regardless of how thin I am, there would always be some woman who had something to say about me.
And do you find that it is mostly women?
I would say it's predominantly women, but it's based out of our need to be attractive to men. I think in general, this is all comes out of like patriarchal values, needing to have that like validation of looking like what the media tells you to look
it's
like.
misogyny, because the reason men are mad about my body is not because they care about my health, it's because I don't excite them sexually. That's why they're mad. And they think I
don't know
have no
about
other
that.
value.
There's plenty of big body women sites. There's plenty of men who like curvy women.
That's the thing, is that plenty of men love every kind of woman, but the image that we're given is something that's completely different than that. And it's just really upsetting. It's like, you know, there comes a point where you have to recognize, regardless of what you want to look like or how healthy you should be or what a doctor tells you to be, are you happy right now? Are you going to get from point A to point B without wanting to kill yourself? And if that's not the case, we have to look at the people who are messing that up. So that's the problem. That's what makes fat shaming real to me.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a moment. Let me read a couple of tweets here from community that are actually also holding that view. We have Akarash over here who says the coining of the term fat shaming is like an attempt to not take personal responsibility for the condition of your body. And you have Spencer over here who says if people are all right with shaming smokers, they should be fine with shaming fat people. GJ, I want to direct this to you. There are, you know, if you say somebody smoking indoors, it does affect somebody else. There's also the scenario of somebody sitting on a plane. If the person sitting next to you is a little overweight and it makes you physically uncomfortable, is it ever okay to actually raise that question? Should you be upset with the person? Should you be upset with the airline itself for not having better accommodation? How do you deal with that situation?
I think my mother probably raised me too well. I would be unhappy, obviously, and I would sit on that 11-hour flight being uncomfortable, yes. But I would never complain or insult that person ever. But what I do want to mention, though, is we talk about women wanting to be desirable to men, but men have it just as bad. The thing is, it's just not as public as it is with women.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Every single conversation I get in with men, whether it's my brother or my friends or colleagues or even patients that we get in here, always somewhere in an hour's consultation, the topic of being overweight comes up. You know, I have to stop drinking as much beer. I have to stop going and getting takeaways every night, blah, blah, blah. They do feel uncomfortable as well. Men just have a very sneaky way of hiding what they really feel. But it's just as hard for them as it is for girls. I can assure you of that.
I absolutely agree with you. And this is something that I talk about a lot, and that doesn't come up in the body positivity conversation a lot because it is predominantly women talking about our experiences as children. But that men, I think in a lot of ways have it worse because we don't talk about it and because it's so rampant, but I think it's still based out of that same idea, you know, that women are trying to be attractive to men, therefore men need to be that idea of masculinity. You know, like if you're not broad-shouldered, if you don't have ripped abs, then there's something wrong with you, even if your body is perfectly healthy. And it becomes this thing where like you're not
especially now with
worthy.
the whole metrosexual thing that came in a couple of years ago.
Absolutely.
Guys, there is a lot of pressure on guys.
Yeah, we do have people who disagree with that online. We have Rennie over here who says the fact that Spanx need to be for women out there while men don't need to hide their fat bulges for fear of fat shaming is one example of that.
You do get Spanx for men
We
now.
also have Susie over here who says fat shaming for men seems to be a lot more lighthearted.
Because
DJ, go on, you were
cowboys
talking.
don't cry.
I think that we do, more readily accept fat men, especially if you look at media representation and stuff like that. I think there are a lot of guys who are fat and get away with it, and nobody sends them hate mail. Nobody wants them to die. Nobody thinks they're disgusting. We think, we recognize them for their other talents, whether they're funny, whether they're successful, smart, or whatever. But I do feel like as a woman, and being in the media, being fat seems to, for a lot of people, completely negate every other thing about me. And that is something I do think that women suffer more than men in our society, for sure.
And AJ, I want to bring you in here because you are doing something, as you mentioned earlier, you're doing something to change this. And so I pulled up your campaign on my screen here. This is Drop the Plus. You can find that hashtag online, lots of pictures, tweets, Instagrams on it, explained. This is the picture that I wanted to show people. You have a circle, and then you have a slightly bigger circle, and it says, still just a circle, drop the plus. What's the impetus behind this campaign, and what's the reaction?
It's the idea that we have to label anyone larger than a size 4, the model acceptance, the acceptable model size. Anything over that is plus, and in the stores, plus, the separate plus section. And we're made to feel more than and just not accepted, not normal. And it's an unnecessary term. But I'm that person who's in the media. I've been on so many magazines with shared with Kim Kardashian, and she's all like wet and dripping and walking out of the beach all sexy. And I've got a big circle over my face with worst beach bodies, look inside. And I mean, I'm lucky, I can laugh about it. I'm like, Although the first time when I saw it on a supermarket, I went, oh wow, that girl's got the same swimsuit as me. Wait, that's me.
Oh, God.
You have to be able to laugh at this stuff though, because
but you know
oh
what?
my gosh.
But I can laugh, but the kids can't. And
Right.
that's the
Very,
thing
very
that's
true.
really
No, and they
damaging.
can't. And, but you know what's interesting? I was just thinking about this. In my show, it prominently features myself and my best friend Buddy. Buddy is obese. He's very large, and everyone loves him. No, he's never gotten a comment in his life about his weight. I'm obviously much larger, but I just think that that's interesting that people say, oh, my big fat fabulous life, you're promoting obesity, which is something that I can't even understand. And she's so fat, she's disgusting, I don't want to watch her. And then when they see Buddy, who's also fat, they say, oh, he's such a good friend to her, I love him, he's so funny, he's great. I think there's definitely a difference. We don't see men on the cover of magazines, like AJ mentioned, being ripped apart for their bodies typically in any kind of capacity like we do women.
That's such a good point, that like you're basically reduced to your fatness whenever you're in the media, that it's always like, oh, well, what could you be doing differently with your body, or what could you be promoting differently, when really what I get from my big fat fabulous life is be happy, be okay with where you are right now. I think it's so unfortunate that it could be reduced to anything less than that.
Because I think, Jasmine, you must know this, like what's the alternative? When people want to shame us for being fat while we're doing yoga, while we're dancing, while we're living, while we're happy, what is the alternative? What else am I supposed to do? Hide myself away in my room and not exercise and not be healthy and happy?
That's the stereotype.
The other thing,
DJ, I hear DJ there, so I want to make a little bit of space for him. Go ahead.
The other thing that's really great about your show and your whole campaign, since I started following you, like I told you before the show about 2 years ago, is the thing is, yes, so what? You're overweight. It's obvious, but you've never stopped trying. And at the end of the day, I think that's what's important. That's the message that I get from you, following you on various social media sites and trying to watch your show when I can, is that, yes, this is a struggle, and it's going to be a struggle for the rest of my life, but I'm not going to give up.
When you say,
and I think that's the message that we need to get out there, you know?
When you say don't give up, do you mean not give up trying to lose weight, or like not give up trying to live happily?
Not giving up, trying to be healthy, trying to be fit, trying to be active, and trying to be the best person that you can be.
That should be a human endeavor, though.
Looks like.
It's just so unfortunate, because you would not say this to, like, if you saw a smaller bodied person and maybe they need to live a healthier lifestyle, you wouldn't immediately say, oh, you should start exercising, or you should maybe change your diet. It's because the person is larger bodied. And it's like, we should all be trying to live more active lives. Humanity is not meant to sit at desks and like stand.
AJ is jumping out of her seat.
I've got a story to tell you.
AJ, is it a short story? Can you tell it in 10 seconds?
I met some models the other day and they live off Diet Coke, cigarettes, toilet paper and toothpaste. It's a model's diet, I swear to God. And we're not saying you're not healthy. Ooh, you smell like toilet paper and cigarettes.
And, you know, there's actually a term for that. I call myself it before anyone else. It is skinny fat. I do not work out enough.
Oh, yes.
You may not know it by looking at me, but I know it. So that elucidates your story. I want to get one last word from community, though, Omar.
We have Omar here on Facebook who says, I lost 25 kilos in 7 months, not with someone shaming me, but with many people inspiring me to work hard.
I love that. And we're not done yet. The conversation continues in our post show. I'm taking Jessamine, Whitney, GJ, and AJ with me to stream.aljazeera.com. We'll see you online. Welcome back to the Stream's online post show. We're discussing fat shaming and the impact it has. We're going to get right back to that conversation. Now, as we headed into the post show, we ended with a tweet that Omar read us about someone saying that their struggle, their story with losing weight, and it didn't come from shaming. It came from being inspired, not from being criticized. So with that in mind, I want to show a little clip from Whitney's show. And Whitney, in this, you really take us through the challenges and the struggles of what it takes to get to your goal health and what you see as your goalpost. So I want everyone to have a little look at this clip.
I hate to admit it, but my dad's pretty much always right. And when it comes to this prediabetes, I should have been pushing myself a lot more, a lot faster. I decided to amp it up a notch and do a lot more than I think I can do. One of those things is bike riding. Come stabilize me.
I'm doing it.
Please come hold me.
You got this. Ready?
Got
this.
I'm trying to get on my pedals. The problem with the bike is that normal people get one pedal on and then just half a second later they've got their foot on the other pedal, but it's not that easy for me and I cannot catch that pedal to save my life. It was a very real and clear and present danger. Do not leave me.
I'm not.
Don't leave me.
I think you needing me is messing you up.
No, it's because of it's just because of the pedals.
You got it.
I'm doing it!
Oh my goodness. And Whitney, you're smiling when you see that. I will take issue with one thing. You said normal people can get one foot on. I consider myself normal sometimes. I am terrified of bikes. I would not be caught dead riding one because of a bike incident when I was about 13. So I definitely can't ride a bike. And as I was seeing you do that, I thought, oh my gosh, I felt your pain. But what did it take to do that and do it on camera? And then what did it feel like accomplishing it when it was over?
I mean, it took a lot for me because physically just my stomach gets in the way. It's very hard to do a lot of things. But something that was said, about my show is not giving up. And for me, it isn't about giving up, but it's not about a struggle with just losing weight. Obviously, for me, I am, at the end of season 1, pre-diabetic. So that's something that I want to avoid. And I think it's interesting that people like to gloss over the fact that I know that I'm obese. I know that I'm pre-diabetic. I know that I have, these things that I want to avoid. And for me, not giving up is getting on that bike because I personally love to live an active lifestyle. I don't know that, everyone, what they do with their body is their business, but I love that. And I thought that I could not ride that bike. And when I did, I felt awesome. And now I have a new thing that I do. But however, when I am riding that bike, I am publicly shamed all the time. And right back to square one. I mean, what else am I supposed
what
to
does
be
that
doing?
look like? Are people yelling things out at you? What is that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Or even, people use, I don't do this often, but if you go to YouTube comments or something like that, people are like, she's never exercised a day in her life. I exercise every day for a long time. Not that I have to justify that to anyone, but I do. So it's very frustrating, but I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it so that I can be happy because I like riding the bike, and I'm doing it so that I can hopefully not get diabetes because I actually love my life and I love the world and I'd like to be in it for as long as possible. But I have no goal to be thin. That is not important to me. I have a goal to be holistically healthy, mind, body, and spirit.
I just want to say something as well, please.
Go ahead, go for it.
It sounds to me like people in America are just extremely rude.
Yes.
Because that would never happen if you see if we see a big-ish girl or guy on a bike, we're like, well done, you're trying, no. I've never heard anyone yell a slur at someone that's overweight who's
Are you
trying to walk or
serious?
trying to jog or going to the gym for that sake. And the other thing that I do want to say about this whole fat shaming thing is that if people can fat shame you, it just feels to me like you have something to be ashamed about, and we don't.
So
I will always remember Oprah saying, no one can let you feel inferior unless you allow them to.
So we asked our online community about what stereotypes people might have about people who are overweight, and he had Lynn over here who tweeted in saying that they choose to be that way, that they are lazy, that they don't care about their health. And then we have this video comment from Laura. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Hi, my name is Laura Bogart, and I'm the author of a salon piece called I Choose to Be Fat. And I choose to be fat or remain fat because I want out of a diet culture that only values people based on their weight and appearance, and that teaches people that the only way that they can be healthy or happy or fulfilled in any way is to adhere to a particular standard of beauty, and a very rigid standard of beauty that simply isn't for most women.
Jessamine, you and many others here criticize this idea that people tend to equate physical appearance with health and self-worth and so on. How do you combat that? Where do you go about changing the way people view this?
I think that the most important thing that we can do as fat people who are active, who live, because regardless of like what you do in your day-to-day life, if you're happy and you're okay with your body and you're comfortable, the most important thing you can do is be visible in whatever way that is. If it's riding your bike down the street, if it's running, if it's just showing people that there is an option other than this idea that if you're not, because basically what the media says and what the medical profession confirms is that you will not be happy if you're not thin. I think that's pretty much like universally regarded. And it's so unfortunate because there's so many people who are unhappy specifically because of that. And that's where fat shaming comes in. Like, I think it's really interesting, GJ, that you said that you were so surprised that people would shout at a fat person, like being active. That is so common. That's probably my #1 example of fat shaming on a day-to-day basis. I can't even tell you. I mean,
being outside working out.
Fat shaming, that's just plain old, that's bullying.
But then what would be fat shaming by your definition then? Because like to me, fat shaming is seeing someone who's fat and making them feel bad about it. It's not related to anything.
I don't think it's a word that needs to be defined. I don't even think that word needs, it's just plain old, it's cruelty and it's bullying and it's harsh.
I think we're on the same page then, because that's the problem, is that it's bullying.
You know what the thing is? I think we are giving it power by giving it a name.
I mean, you can't say that something doesn't exist. I mean, okay, I'm sorry. Fat shaming to me is undeniably real because I have been that person who's running down the street in short shorts and my belly is falling out and there are people shouting at me across the street. That is not, and like you can call it cruelty, you can call it being mean, whatever you want to, but if it's specifically related to the size of someone's body, it's not related to my skin color, it's not related to my gender, it's not related to any other part of my life, it's because of my body. And if you are being verbally aggressive, that is fat shaming. I mean, I don't know what else to call it then. What else would you call it?
Them shaming you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the type of people that they are.
But then what would be the positive of saying, like what positive result are you supposed to be getting? Is it supposed to be that I hear someone saying something rude and then I'm like, wow, I guess I should be living my life differently. I am living my life differently. I'm running down the street. What do you want? Like what's the response? I don't think that it's, even if you didn't call it anything, it would still exist. It's not.
You know what, being adults, I think we just need to get up to a point where we are so confident with ourselves that we are able to shake this off.
I wonder, GJ, if that is easier said than done. But I want to move to you, AJ, just a little bit and push this along, because when GJ said that, it was a joke probably about America and it being a root thing. I wondered if you had the same experience in Australia. Okay, it wasn't a joke, he says. So I wonder if the same thing happens in Australia, if you can relate to that in other parts of the world.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that there's only one magazine in the world that features me on their covers regularly, like I am the goddess of all goddesses, and that is Heat magazine in South Africa. It is so empowering and so inspiring. I can't tell you how good that feels, because every other country wants to call me the worst beach body, out of control, down and out in Beverly Hills, like all these horrible names, Free Willy, push her out to sea. And what's interesting is when I hosted Biggest Loser, I was 130 pounds. I'd been 300 pounds and I'd, like Whitney, worked my butt off, literally. And I ended up hosting the show because I'd been there, done fat. And I was so proud, and I got online the first night it went on air, and everyone was like, "Oh, she should go on a diet. She should be a contestant. Get on the treadmill, you fat cow. Stop eating donuts." And I was like, "How thin do I have to be before people stop fat shaming me?"
Right.
But just stop. You'll never be good enough at the end of the day. You need to be good enough for yourself.
But I think
that looks like one thing that everyone can agree on. I want to get Omar in here with the community. Omar.
So we have one thing that the community think we have ignored thus far. We have Jason over here who says fat shaming targets the victims of an economic system that rewards the manufacturers of processed sugary foods with fat profits. And Michael follows up saying it definitely ignores the larger sociocultural conditions that led to weight gains, such as unhealthy foods. Jessamine, do you think that there's a conversation here to be had about the food industry as contributing to the problem?
Absolutely. I think it is unbelievable that I can only speak about America specifically, so I'm going to throw shade at them. I can't talk about South Africa or Australia. I'm sure they have plenty of problems within, but it's completely ridiculous that we have so many government just perfectly okay food regulations, things that go through the fact that most of our food is made from corn, the fact that the cheapest food can only be purchased by certain people, which automatically leads to weight gain, which leads to diabetes, which leads to heart disease, that it's especially common in low socioeconomic groups, especially common within minorities, African American communities specifically. I think that the fact that all of this is happening and then you've still got the medical profession saying that, you need to lose weight in order to be happy and healthy, or you need to do this or that. It's completely ridiculous. And there's no argument about that because everyone's just talking about, well, you are obese if your BMI is blah, blah, blah. Okay, who cares? At the end of the day, it doesn't, maybe we need to make an actual,
obese.
Yeah, and especially when you talk, my biggest problem with all of this does have to do with children because bullying is so rampant, especially cyberbullying. And it's all of these kids, you go to school and they have chips and stuff at school and you have these experiences that are really emotionally damaging, so then you eat. And then it's what are you supposed to do? I don't understand what the response is.
Cycle, actually, that's what it is.
Yeah, and it's a cycle that's that no one takes responsibility for.
You comfort eat, and it just goes on and on. There are countries like the UK. They've completely banned whole milk in schools, and I also think, if I heard correctly or read correctly, that they've also now banned all fizzy drinks in schools as well, because they are also fighting a losing battle.
And I heard AJ pipe in to say that it's also banned there as well. And you're right, this could be the topic of a whole other show, and one that, of course, we would love to look into. So we welcome your suggestions for it online as well. You can continue to tweet us your suggestions for the show that you want to see come out of that discussion. But focusing in on here as we run out of time, we're winding up, so I kind of want a round table from all of our guests on what you think in your own personal life is the best way forward in fighting, one, body discrimination, but two, body shaming. And I know not all of our guests want to call it body shaming, but that idea. And so I'll start with you, Whitney.
Well, I think that the best thing we can do is, number one, recognize that it does exist. I think it's really harmful to, if we said, well, there are racist people, but if we don't give them that power, then it doesn't exist. Yeah, it exists, whatever we call it. So to recognize it first and foremost. And then second of all, everyone has to start within themselves. I try to just live my life, and like Jessamine said, in a really visible way. And it has been amazing. My Big Fat Fabulous Life airs in every continent of the world except for Antarctica. And I have a lot of fans in South Africa, by the way. And
yes.
The thing I hear all the time is that it's not even just from fat people, it's from anyone who's felt marginalized. It's people with chronic illnesses, disabilities, whether they're too thin, too fat, whatever, gender, sexuality, anyone that's felt different and ashamed. And people are saying that seeing you live your life authentically, the ups and the downs and everything on TV has made me feel like my life will be okay. And so no matter what the worst things are that I hear on a daily basis every day in my life on the internet, that will never take it away from me. So I have to agree with Jessamine that being visible is the most important thing, because you are being an example to other people that you can be happy and you can also be fat, and we can break the stigma one person at a time.
AJ?
Well, I want to speak to the kids because it's where my heart is, and the kids who are being shamed and teased and bullied. Please keep sending me your incredible films and your short stories and all of your heartfelt feelings. You are being heard. There's people, we all love you. You are loved by many. Never give up. Don't believe what you read. Don't believe what a nasty person says. Everybody is beautiful. Everybody is worthy. And every day is precious, and you must live all of them to your fullest life possible.
Beautiful words there. GJ?
You know what? Actually, Channing Tatum coined this saying the other day on Ellen. He said he gained a bit of weight, and he said his wife called him fappy, which is fat and happy.
I love that. Channing Tatum could say that, though,
that's
of
what
course.
I'm calling myself currently because I'm struggling with my weight all over again. Currently, I'm fappy. And the rest of the time, you know what? I just take it day by day. I do my best. Some days work out, some days don't. But at the end of the day, that doesn't change the way I feel about myself or what I see when I look in the mirror.
Jessamine?
I mean, honestly, I can't say any more about being visible because I do think that's probably the most important thing. But the second thing is just to ask, who cares? Who cares? There will always be someone who disagrees with you. There will always be someone who doesn't like you. And at the end of the day, I'm really grateful for all of the men specifically who made fun of me when I was a kid because they gave me such a thick skin that at this point in life, I'm like, what difference does it make? Like, what thing are you going to say that's going to really make a difference? But I recognize that not everyone has that experience. And many people are surrounded by loved ones who make them feel terrible about themselves. And that if I can do anything, I mean, I'm sure I probably have a Tumblr, Facebook, tweet, something at this exact moment, someone saying, I did not know that I could be active until I saw you. That I did not know that it was okay to look like that until I saw you. So that until something changes, we just have to be visible. We have to be out there. We have to show ourselves because, I mean, people are always going to hate fat people. That's just how it is.
Well, that
Unless
is an
something
inspiration.
changes.
I will give our last word to community, Omar.
I'll leave you with this positive thought from Teresa, who says, if you are healthy, that's what matters. We must be happy and feel good about ourselves.
I love it. Ending the show on a positive note. Everyone is smiling in agreement. So we are out of time for today. I want to thank our guests, Jessamine Stanley, Whitney Thor, GJ Dimpers, and AJ Rochester. We'll see you next time.